quarterly PSAT. We will now do a quorum to establish, do a roll call to establish quorum. Please note, all meeting attendees will enter muted. Phone-only attendees will need to press *6 to unmute at the beginning of the meeting, and if they're subsequently muted by the host. Please remember to mute when you're not speaking to create a positive experience for all attendees. So, by agency, Apache Junction.
Craig Robinson, good morning.
Arizona Department of Public Safety. Arizona State University. Avondale. Buckeye. Fort McDowell.
Are they not acknowledging? So I show ASU. If you'll hang on a second, I show ASU. Trish, you're on the line.
She's on the chat. She doesn't have a mic.
Okay. I'll watch the chat.
Okay. Chandler.
Good morning. This is Stephanie.
Fort McDowell. Okay. Gilbert.
Here.
And Glendale.
Loretta's here.
Goodyear.
Shauna's here.
Luke Air Force Base Fire Department. Maricopa County Sheriff's Office.
I see Jim on the line.
Okay. Mesa Fire Department. Mesa PD.
This is Christine. I'm present.
Okay. Paradise Valley.
This is Heather with Paradise Valley.
Sorry, Doreen's here from Mesa Fire. I had to get unmuted.
All right, thank you, Doreen. Peoria.
Brittany Brunet with Peoria. Good morning.
And Phoenix Fire. Phoenix PD. AMR. Salt River.
Kim's here. Good morning.
Hi, Kim.
Scottsdale. Surprise.
Kamala, Tennessee. Good morning.
Tempe is here. Tolleson.
Adriana's here.
And Wickenburg.
I just want to make sure we captured that Heather from Paradise Valley was on the line as well. Didn't?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yep. Just making sure we capture that in the minutes.
Okay.
Okay, and I just see a note from Karen Sutherland. She is here. Just remember, if you're on the phone, connected via telephone, hit *6 to unmute, and then we can hear you. All right. The meeting of the MAG Public Safety Answering Point Committee is called to order. Since Chair Folia is out of town, I will be conducting this meeting in this place. So, first off, members of the public were asked to submit written comments related to this meeting through the MAG website. Comments may be sent at any time leading up to the meeting, but must be received at least 1 hour prior to the posted start time for this meeting. This is the opportunity for the public to comment on items that fall under MAG's jurisdiction that are not on the agenda, or that are on the agenda for discussion and not for action. MAG staff, have we received any public comments? If so, please read them at this time.
No, Mr. Chair, we haven't, or Mr. Vice Chair, we have not received any comments from the public.
Okay. Item number 3 is approval of the August 13, 2020 meeting minutes. Could I have a motion for approval of the minutes?
Loretta will first approve the minutes.
Brittany with
We have a
Peoria, I'll second.
I heard the motion from Loretta, and then who was second?
Brittany with Peoria, I'll second.
Is there a discussion of the motion? Okay. And we will now take a roll call vote. Patsy Junction,
Aye.
DPS?
Aye.
Actually, sorry, they're not voting members. I'll move on. Avondale? Buckeye? Chandler?
Aye.
Fort McDowell? Gilbert?
Aye.
Glendale?
Aye.
Goodyear?
Aye.
MCSO?
Aye.
Mesa PD?
Aye.
Paradise Valley PD?
Aye.
Did I already say Peoria?
No, but aye.
Okay. Phoenix PD? Salt River PD?
Aye.
Scottsdale PD?
Aye.
Surprise?
Aye.
Tempe is aye. Tolleson
Aye.
and Wickenburg. Okay. Motion carries. Item number 4, administrator report. The 911 administrator will provide a report to the PSAT managers on activities and programs managed by Maricopa Region 911. Liz Graber, 911 administrator, will provide this report. Liz?
Thank you, Patrick. So an update on the areas that we oversee. The first one is SENS. I'm happy to say that we are trending high on SENS. We've got 129 activations to date. To give you a perspective, last year, our highest number total for the year was 103. So we're beyond that. And just a couple of reminders to the PSAT managers. I know that it's mostly your line supervisors that are doing the launches, but they need to identify when there are, they've gotten out of the habit of when they're putting out a name of the activation to use the first 3 letters of your agency. Because remember, we're one big customer. And when I don't have that, it's hard to distinguish who's putting out the alert. So that's the first thing. And the second one is make sure, I'm going to emphasize this again, that if they're testing, not to put that in the comments so that I understand it, or they can title it as a test. Either one's good for me. But when I don't get a test and I see comments that say, we're looking for a suspect, or some sort of comments that sound police related, and there's only one contact in the number, it makes me wonder, was there only one person that had a phone in there, or are they just testing? So those are the 2 things. If you can take that back to your folks, that would be helpful. Any questions on SENS? Okay. Text to 911. So we're also trending high on text to 911. This last month was, when we had the protest in the summer, we had a high month. And this last October, we also had a high month. So our record, I think it was in July, maybe June, was 727. And for October, it was 726. So it was a busy month in October. Year to date is 5,786 text messages. That makes our monthly average 579. And once again, just to show you how much we're trending up, in 2019, our totals were approximately 54,000. So we've already surpassed what we received in 2019. Okay, questions on text to 911? All right, let's talk about the grant. The final budget approval for the MAG process and the one that we submitted in August is going before MAG Regional Council, that's the mayors, and they will listen to that and approve it, hopefully approve it, be voted on the last of this month, November. So once we have their approval, then we have our official MAG budget. And then when the state opens up their grant in January, that is what we will build off of and fill in everything that was requested from the PSAPs and our needs for our network and CPE upgrades and such as that. And usually our deadline, just to reiterate, our deadline to get it entered is in February, and then by April they tell us what is approved and what's not approved. Now those dates may be a little loose because of the 911 administrator opening vacancy. That the guys that are working in the office are doing a lot of things at once, so that might slide a little bit, but that's basically what the dates are. Opens January, closes February, and we receive approval by April. Any questions on the grant? Okay. And legislative activity, not much going on other than the CenturyLink 911 outages. They do I believe it's a bi-monthly, not a bi-monthly, but they report every other month. So it's if you've read that docket at all, the complaint is 911 outages and CenturyLink, they call them posts, and that's where you see the little green pedestals everywhere that carry telecom in neighborhoods. You'll see them. And the other complaint they have on that docket is that those are in misrepair. There's a lot of them that need new ones, rebuilt, repairs. So they mostly are focusing on that, but 911 outages, is part of that, and there's not anything new. They were starting a stakeholders group. I haven't heard anything. By any chance, has anyone from our region been invited to that? Okay, I'll take that as a no. And so other than that, legislatively, we don't have a lot of activity. That's my final report, Mr. Cutts.
Okay, are there any questions from the membership for Liz? Okay, this item is on the agenda for information and discussion only. We will move on to item number 6, the Emerging 911 Working Group Report. This is an ongoing discussion on emerging technology, best practices, innovative processes in 911, and its impact to the region. This report will be given by Loretta Hadlock from the Emerging Working Group.
Hey, Patrick, is number 5 Emerging or Governance Working Group?
Oh, sorry, I skipped. My apologies. Thank you, Liz. So this is the Governance Working Group report. This is an ongoing discussion on governance needed on a regional level. This report will be given by the Governance Working Group. Christine Petty-Young will provide this report. Christine?
Good morning. We have had a couple of meetings since our last PSAP managers group. The thing that we are working on right now is determining when a PSAP request new phone positions and phone consoles, how we'll decide if we as a region should fund that. There's like several issues that go along with this. One is like maintaining these new positions costs more than it used to. So there's a higher maintenance budget. So we're there's really no national model on this. So our group is trying to put something together to create a model. The state has been interested in attending our meetings and seeing what we can find out to try to create some type of a template. What we are looking at based on our last meeting is what is it that we really want to provide? So it's kind of like at Christmas, if I have a really big budget, I could get everyone brand new computers. And of course I would get them their regular socks and underwear, but I'm gonna do a couple of extra things for that Christmas. So that's kind of like our tier 1 funding. If we could get everyone what we wanted to give them within reason, what would that be? And then we developed a tier 2 funding, which is like those kind of spare Christmases where you just have to get the kids the underwear and maybe a new outfit for school because that's all you can afford. And sometimes that's where we are within 911, since there hasn't been an increase in the excise tax to help fund us as a state. So just an example, we don't have anything set in stone yet. I think this is going to be a fairly long process to figure out. But we were looking at a tier 1, for instance, would be we would provide a phone for the number of dispatch positions and phone positions that each center has. Since as a model right now, most of us have an integrated non-emergency ring down lines with our 911 systems. We would want to account positions covering as a backup. So all the emergency centers which have backups, we would like to make sure that there's positions to cover an area for a region. And then of course we would look at special needs. So places like Glendale, where they may need on occasion extra consoles because they have a big concert and that kind of thing working, where they need extra dispatchers. A tier 2 financing, which is the more spare one, where you're just getting only what you can get, is where we have to start really considering things like position utilization. So for instance, at our agency in Mesa, our channel 1 dispatcher, probably if I went and looked, there would be 0 911 calls on that position for the year, because they're really just dispatching full time and they're not helping even maybe on graveyards, because that's a really busy channel for us. So some of the agencies that are utilizing positions really more as dispatch positions, we might have to consider only funding for positions for 911. Like how many calls does your center take? How are you utilizing those? And how many positions do we need just to handle the 911 and non-emergency public calls? So that's kind of where we are right now. We're kind of looking for a formula. So we're going to try a couple of things out at our next meeting and see if on a small agency versus a medium and a large agency, if we use some different formulas, if they are fitting to all of us, because that's one of the big challenges in trying to figure this out, is how we utilize things differently at every agency. Does anyone have any questions, or anyone from the committee want to add anything?
Okay. If there's no questions from the membership, this item is on the agenda for information and discussion only. We will move on to item number 6, which is the Emergency 911 Working Group. This is an ongoing discussion on emerging technology, best practices, innovative process in 911, and its impact on the region. This report will be given by Loretta Hadlock from the Emergency Working Group. Loretta?
Well, we had a couple of meetings in October. We haven't had any in the month of November, but one of the big things that was brought up was live 911. And I know we just recently had that with our little overview with our state meeting, and or through APCO. And on the, trying to see the date, I think it was on October 20th, we had a presentation by Chula Vista, who actually has it active at this time. Got to see it work a little bit, and she was able to answer some questions for us. It was Carla Evans. She's how the officers are actually listening to the live 911 calls, how do they know to pick it up, or different things. And it's actually through, it's kind of like a overview of like RapidSOS maps, but they can see who's logged in, who's not, who's monitoring calls. So it's kind of like, I think it's going to be more of a procedural thing for each agency. Benj actually made contact with Live 911 for some pricing. That was from our previous meeting, and you know, he spoke with Higher Ground, because we all know that there's other implementations when you start looking at this type of stuff. The two distinct parts were the 911 audio call and location information. And it's, you know, how it provides it and how do we get to it. And they were specifying how it's done. There's a login for officers where they can't actually butt into the call, but they actually can listen to the call. Providing the location, it's kind of like RapidSOS, it's tracking the device. And the configuration, there's not a lot of information that they're providing for the technical guys, which is why Mike went and took a look at that. I don't know if you got any additional information from them, Mike, when you were able to chat with the guy from Higher Ground.
The high-level assessment from our standpoint is that we believe we have the technology in place to support what they need to do. The bigger obstacle is outside of Maricopa region. It would be handing that information to your various CAD groups and so forth, because they have to integrate that on the CAD side, because they would be looking at this kind of RapidSOS or this live 911 portal from their mobile computer terminals. So we would be just passing that audio into their system, and then that system has to show up on all your mobile, mobile computer terminals and in your responding apparatus. So, or from a PD perspective, in your responding squad cars and so forth. That's outside of our purview, and I imagine there's probably a tall barrier of entry for that in terms of your CAD folks or whoever's managing your mobile fleet. They're going to have a lot of questions for that. But from the 911 perspective, being able to deliver the audio to live 911 so that they would be able to work with you guys to distribute it, I believe we are well situated to support that aspect of it.
Hey, Loretta, didn't they have, on the call that I was on with the group, the working group, didn't they say that it doesn't go through CAD? It's like a browser add-on, like our 911, text to 911, that it wasn't integrated through the CAD. It's integrated through a separate app. Do I remember that correctly?
Yes, that's correct. And I know, unfortunately, some of our guys from our real life crime center actually got to go see this after all this. I didn't know they were going over there to Chula Vista, so they came back raring to go. So I told them, just hold off. We're looking at it through Maricopa 911. I mean, there's a lot more than just getting the phone call to the officer and listening to it. Some of the things that we brought up, to the person that was doing the presentation, her name was Carla Evans, was, how do you handle, especially with a large agency such as Phoenix, Glendale? I consider us large on this part because our officers tend to not shut up on the radio. So one of the things, that they did, some of them were saying, hey, go ahead and send me that call for such and such. And we're like, what call? The call hasn't even hit the queue yet. And they're already asking for the call for service because they were listening in, whether it be their beat or something like that, because they don't have anything else to do. Though the 911 operators are taking the calls in order, those guys are listening to whatever hits the queue, and they're able to listen to it prior to us getting the call in. I think that would be a big issue for several of us agencies who are a little bit larger, and trying to keep up with those guys. Other than that, go ahead.
I was going to say, what other thing I found interesting is Carla said that her patrol signed up for this and did it. They didn't realize in dispatch that that had been done. So not necessarily that's a bad thing, but they loved it. And they asked Carla's group, did they want to have access to it? So they also got the dispatchers to be able to listen in.
Yeah.
Do I remember that part right?
Yeah, and I think within our agency it'll work out pretty good because of the fact that we have the real life crime center where the guys are actually talking on the radio with our dispatchers as well. But I mean, you have somebody with Phoenix that works multiple different channels, and you know, somebody just comes across and says, "Hey, send me the call," and they're like, "We don't even know what you're talking about." That was one of the big things that, you know, we were talking about with her, and she's like, I don't know how it'd be handled. There's probably going to be policy and procedure that's going to need to be done on that. But I would like to personally go and take a look at Chula Vista to actually see how it works. I know our guys went, but I would like to see it in action, to see it on both ends, to have a clear understanding of it, to how it works and what the pluses and minuses are of it.
So another thing I want you to consider, the group to consider is, this is, when they were describing it and I was part of that discussion, man, I was impressed. And I saw, you know, different areas of question, but they hear the feedback from an actual user. It's a really, really good patrol tool. So even though they're listening to 911, and we would have to be real careful that this would have to be taken on by agency and not as a region. Now, if all the agencies want it and you fund it, we as a 911 provider would give you the links and do the technical part of it. But I think realistically, this is going to have to be purchased by your agency and coordinated through us to get you that interface so that you'll be able to do that. Does that make sense?
This is Patrick, and so Tempe actually reached out to Chula Vista, and I had a presentation for them, not knowing that they had reached out, or the emergency technology group had reached out to them already. We looked at it as an agency. They communicated with our previous chief, and so from my understanding, the higher ground, you actually have to have one of their servers at your agency. So they're a logger recorder company, so that's how they got kind of involved in this. And when we looked at it from our agency's perspective, we made a determination that it was not for us, just by virtue of the number of calls that we receive and the smaller geographic area for an officer to differentiate and to select which calls they want to listen to. Based on our small area of service, we felt it would be too much for an officer to just kind of parse through to figure out which one they needed to listen to or wanted to listen to.
And that makes sense. And I could see Phoenix PD, like Loretta said, going, no, we're not going to do this. But I don't want it to stop everybody else. So if this is something your agency is willing to fund and you want to explore, because I saw a lot of potential with it, we'd be happy as MR911 to work with your IT folks on how to do that handoff if you decide to go this way.
And I could tell you, just working at, you know, a couple of small agencies and then a large agency, the difference. I know when I worked at Goodyear, it would have been huge. It would have been great to have it there. But there's not as many officers on the street either. So I think it's great for the smaller agencies. For the larger agencies, I'm not so sure. That's why I said I'd just like to see how busy Chula Vista really is, to see how they work it, because they're saying that they're almost the same dynamic as us and Tempe, but I mean, like Patrick says, for what we deal with, I don't know if they have the magnitude of call volume that we do, especially, let's say, an event that would clearly I think I'd go to the Cuckoo House or something. But still looking at it, talking to my staff as well, my administrative staff, to see if maybe I can go, myself and Brent can go take a look at it. And if so, I'll open it up to the emerging group and see if their agencies will allow them or what have you. But we're trying to get that done. But with COVID going up again, I don't know if they'll allow us to go. That's it. Sorry.
Are there any other questions from the membership? No. Okay, this item is on the agenda for information and discussion only. We will now move on to item number 7, the Maricopa Region 911 Technical Report. This report on technical updates and 911 system upgrade projects will be provided by the Maricopa Region 911. Mike Benjamin and his team will provide us with this report. Mike?
Thank you, Patrick. Wanted to first start with a reminder that you may be seeing a couple of our newer hires. They were hired earlier in the year, brought them on during COVID, so some of your PSAPs may or may not have seen them depending on your requests to have our folks in your sites. But they're out there now, not always escorted by one of our more tenured persons, but Harold Castillo and Mark Simpson are 2 new hires. They uniformed, driving the red van or red marked vehicle from the city of Phoenix. They are legitimate technicians, so you may be seeing them. Right now, from a largest impact operations type thing, we continue to wrestle with Viper. Had not a good quarter in terms of impact to operations for groups like Chandler, Mesa Fire, those 3 in particular. So there may be some other PSAPs that have had some wrestling. We continue to work with Intrado as soon as they are able to release the patches and fixes. We've been working to apply those and working with their technicians and so forth to then get them to make additional fixes, because we haven't had a fix that's been applied yet that didn't require additional fixes. We certainly appreciate the patience and the partnership that we get with the PSAPs to continue to report the concerns. If you stop reporting those concerns, it will make it more difficult for us to pin down the specific issues that Intrado continues to try to work through. I mean, these are hot items. We had people remoting in even yesterday to continue to try to dig through and sift through these various issues. From a projects perspective, again, hot off the press, we did some work just this morning as we continue to prepare Goodyear, who is next on the docket for CPE replacement. So the Goodyear went through a brief period today where we did a network maneuver to prepare them for their move to Viper. And some of those preparations are being made for other projects coming up, MCSO and likewise. That's the highlights. I'm willing or need to open it up here for any comments or feedback or questions. Okay, hearing none, I will turn it back to Patrick.
Okay. If there's no questions from the membership, just for information, this item is on the agenda for information and discussion only. We will now move on to item number 8.
Patrick, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Dave Eaton, you're on the line, aren't you, Dave? Yeah, we need to talk about them and then just check to see, and then Nate. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I am on the line. Good morning. Right now we're in the beginnings of rolling out the next iteration of our map. And we're transitioning to a new code base for our map so that we can take advantage of, as 911 progresses and we start to get, calls that have a third dimension for, altitude, we'll be able to plot those. So this new code base, JavaScript is what we're moving to. And right now, Avondale and Tempe are the current beta sites that we're working with. To date, we haven't done a lot of testing. The issue that we've been running into is the Viper scaling on the resolution. Apparently Viper scales things down, which kind of shifts things around on the map. So we're trying to massage the interface so that it looks clean. That's primarily what we've been working on, along with the JavaScript implementation and the beta testing. RapidSOS has been adding additional features or sources of information. So the new map has the ability to show the device language. So not necessarily the caller's language, but it will show the default device language for Android phones. I'm not sure how useful that is, but we're deploying that. It'll just be in the bottom grid, and it will be available for Android phones as calls come in. And if it's not useful, we can certainly remove that. One of the additional sources of information that I've seen that we don't have implemented in the interface yet is a alarm company called Cove. And basically the information that we'll be seeing from Cove is you're going to be getting calls from this Cove, alarm call center, and the call will have all this information that basically this operator from Cove will be relaying to your call taker. So they will see that information immediately when a call comes in. So those are the primary new sources from RapidSOS that we've seen. And beyond that, I don't have any additional items on mapping right now, unless anybody has any questions on those.
Hey, Dave, this is Karen Sutherland from Scottsdale.
Yep.
Regarding the Cove, are you saying that that's going to come through the RapidSOS?
Correct.
So we'll see the house or building or whatever where the alarm is sounding on the RapidSOS map.
Well, it will be it may show up on RapidSOS portal. I'm not really familiar with what they're showing there. However, it will be showing on your mapped alley, the RMAP. So we're querying for that information just like we do a RapidSOS call. And we're plotting that information on the map. So yes, the Cove calls do have location information with them. So it'll plot, zoom into that location of the call on your RMAP, and then would show, there's an alarm tripped in, hallway number 1 or first floor or whatever information that they're providing with that particular call.
Okay. You don't have any documentation on that, do you?
It's on, the RapidSOS website of all the different sources that they have. If you just look at their partners, Cove is one of them, and that's probably the best source of information out there.
Okay, will do. Thanks.
If there's nothing else for Dave, Nate?
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. For projects, as mentioned last quarter, we have 2 Viper 7 upgrades as well as 2 Vestas. Viper upgrades are Goodyear and the Sheriff. Goodyear hardware replacement work is underway. It's going to be part of a satellite Viper node off of VSB, Viper System B. 8 positions. Tentative cut date is set for the 3rd of February. We're making good progress in the back room, and the workstations are mocked, ready for Power 911 installation to begin sometime next week. For the Sheriff, it is a standalone Viper 7, 22 workstations, 9 workstations self-funded for adult probation. Their tentative cut date is set for 24th of March. But if the hardware doesn't arrive in December, it may get pushed out a couple of weeks. More to come on that once I talk to Frank about when MR911 will receive the hardware. For Goodyear and for Glendale and Phoenix Fire, we're still working with purchasing the hardware, so I have no updates on those 2 sites. Salt River Backup, they are self-funded, 2 positions, including the back room, and also including the network hardware that they purchased for building out the backup. We've started progress. We started the data room and progress is good. The Viper hardware is mounted a couple of weeks ago. We just started the network hardware install this Tuesday. There'll be more work done, but it's kind of like slow because we have to schedule a meeting to have a person escort us because of COVID. So progress is going, but it's slow. For Gilbert, they self-funded 3 workstations. The quotes, it's in the finalization or getting finalized by Intrado. Intrado is tasked to do the work with MR911 directing to make sure that they follow our standards. And then again, more information to come when I find out when the PO is paid for. So more to come for Gilbert. And lastly, for Apache Junction, they are going through an expansion, basically a remodel of their dispatch floor. The demolition will start November 30th, Monday. And at this time, I'm not sure when it's gonna get done. They're thinking sometime the March timeframe before it's completed. Those are basically projects that I have. If you have any questions, I can take them now. Nope.
Okay. If there's no questions, this item is on the agenda for information discussion only. Now we can move on to item number 8, request for future agenda items. Are there any requests by membership for an item on a future agenda? Okay. Are there any announcements from the membership? Okay. Hearing none, this meeting is now adjourned. Do we have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
Loretta, the first motion to adjourn the meeting.
Okay, we have a motion from Loretta. Do we have a second?
This is Damla. I'll second.
We have a second from Damla. The meeting is now adjourned. The next PSAT Managers Group meeting will be on February 11th, 2021. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.